the amazing things about growing up in South Africa is that it's a complete melting pot of different food cultures. And today on Jay's World Kitchen, I'm going to show you how to make samosas. And these amazing little snacks are a lot of fun to make. They can be a bit of a challenge and they can take a little bit of time, but the wonderful thing about them is they are incredibly versatile, and so you can fill them with just about anything you want. Today I'm going to be doing a slightly spicy vegetable filling, but really the sky is the limit for what you can fill these wonderful pastries with. You're going to need some vegetable oil for frying, an onion finely chopped, 2 cloves of garlic, 1 potato about 100 grams nicely diced, either 1 carrot or 100 grams of frozen carrots, and 100 grams of frozen peas. I'm just using a pea and carrot mix, and that's 200 grams. 1½ teaspoons of curry powder, ½ teaspoon of coriander, 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric, some salt and pepper, and 100 milliliters of vegetable stock. Now really, this is the fun, creative part of this entire recipe. And while I'm doing a vegetable one, there are so many other fillings that you can do in these, and it's so amazingly tasty, doesn't matter what you use. So we're going to start off by throwing some oil into the bottom of our pan and getting that up to temperature. And once your oil is at temperature, we're going to pop in our onions. And our garlic. And we're just going to fry those up until they're getting nice and fragrant and those onions are starting to get slightly translucent. And as you can see, some of it's just starting to brown, and that's absolutely perfect time to start by putting in some of our spices. We're going to start off with our curry powder, our coriander, and finally our turmeric. Give those a good old stir and you will smell immediately the wonderful smells just starting to fill up the room. And then we're going to add in our frozen vegetables, as well as our potatoes. We're going to use some of our vegetable stock just to help separate those all. Now I've made about 1 cup because sometimes you might need a little bit more liquid in here, so I'm going to have some as backup, but really you're going to use less than half of this. Now I am going to add some more stock because I want to make sure that as much of those potatoes are covered as possible. I'm going to add a little bit of salt and some ground black pepper. The smell is just amazing. And once we've stirred those in, we're going to cover and leave it to simmer for about ½ an hour. Now there are a wide variety of pastries that you can use for your samosas. I'm going to be making my own, but you can always use store-bought phyllo pastry, and I've even heard of people using puff pastry. But this is a very, very simple pastry recipe that we're going to throw together by hand. And again, I'm doing it by hand. You can use your mixer if you want to. You're going to need 1½ cups or 225 grams of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of salt, 100 milliliters of water, and 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. Now the pastry is really, really simple. So we're just going to take our flour, add in our salt and our oil, and now our 100 milliliters of water. And I'm just using cold tap water. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. And I'm just using my hands, as I said, and we're just going to mix it up together until it forms a dough. And you're going to get to a point where you're going to have to turn this out onto the counter and just make sure you're getting everything out of your bowl. And just carry on kneading it together. We're going to knead this for about 5 to 10 minutes. And after about 5 minutes, your dough is going to be relatively smooth and elastic. You want to roll it into a nice ball. And we're going to cover it with some plastic wrap and leave it rest for about half an hour. Once our dough has been resting for half an hour, we're going to simply take it out of its plastic. And I'm dividing it into 3. And just roughly, you don't have to measure this out, but you can if you really want. So we have roughly 3 pieces of dough, and we're going to one at a time roll them out. And I'm using my KitchenAid pasta roller, and I'm going to start off at 1 and move all the way down to 8. And what you're going to end up with is a nice long sheet of translucent dough. And as you can see, the pastry is very translucent. You can actually see right through it. And I'm using my pad here so that I can measure this out. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it certainly doesn't have to be 100% accurate. So what we're going to do, we're having a look here at how many centimeters is on each side, and my pad is 50 centimeters long, so I'm going to cut it at 50 centimeters on the one side. So now I have a large rectangle, and then we're going to find the halfway mark, which is in this case 25 centimeters. And now I'm going to find the halfway mark on the width. And once you find that halfway mark, like that, and again, just roughly, a nice slice all the way down. And now we're going to start filling these up. Now really, this just takes a lot of practice, but you can do it. It's really as easy. What you got to picture is that there is an invisible line up here in a diagonal, and then a line down here. And then you're going to take just a spoonful of your filling, and I'm just using another spoon just to help me guide it there. I'm going to sort of put it into a triangle, so it's actually going into this sort of second triangle of our rectangle, like that. Now in here I have just a tablespoon of flour with a little bit of water, and we're going to use that in just a moment. I'm going to take this corner here and fold it down over here into a triangle. And now I'm using my finger here, and I'm putting some of this paste that we have, and it's just really a very, very loose paste, just up here. And we're going to carefully fold this over like that. And then we're going to fold that again like that. Now notice that this is where the open part has ended up. And we're going to take some more of that and put it here, because when this folds over, we're going to want it to cover up there. I'm going to fold it over like that, and then a slight coating just here, so basically just like a glue. Fold it this way, and we have a little flap over here which we're just going to fold right over like that. And there you go. And now we're going to repeat that for all of our samosas. Now folding them does take a little bit of practice, but I promise you, you will get better at it. Some of my first ones were an absolute disaster, but now I'm getting the hang of it, and I think they're doing pretty good. Now is a great opportunity. If you want to, you can actually freeze these. And what I'd recommend for that is to put a piece of parchment paper in between each layer of them as you freeze them, and then you can take them out to cook whenever you're ready. Now, to cook these, we're going to deep fry them in oil that we've heated to 350 degrees roughly, and then turned that heat down just so it sort of maintains that temperature. You don't want this oil to be too hot. And what you're going to do is you're just going to fry them in small batches for about 8 to 10 minutes, maybe a little shorter, just depending on the temperature of your oil, because you want to make sure that they're nice and golden brown. And keep frying them in batches, placing them onto some kind of wire rack just to strain until you're ready to eat. And of course, you've finished cooking all of them. And once they're all fried up, it's really, really easy to serve these with a chutney or some kind of dipping sauce, or just on their own. I really do love how sort of crunchy they are and just amazing. Now, the filling is perfectly in there, they're perfectly surrounded, and I'm going to give this a taste. Now, that pastry is just perfect. The pastry is light and flaky, but nice and crisp. And then the filling is just perfectly held together in there. And immediately you can taste that curry and that little bit of coriander in there. These were just amazing. I would love to hear from you if you try these in the comments section below. You really should give them a try. And remember to add stuff that makes it your own. If you enjoyed this video, remember to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and remember to turn on notifications so that you know when my next video drops. Remember too that you can follow me on all of my social media, and those links are below in the comments section. If you would like to try something unique and different, try out my Durban curry recipe, which can be found right here. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, happy eating.